Hello, everyone. Welcome back. My name is Jeff Mendelson, and this is the One Big Tip podcast. My guest today is Faisal Hoque. Faisal is an accomplished entrepreneur, noted thought leader, technology innovator, and advisor to CEOs and the U.S. federal government for more than 25 years of cross-industry success. He is the founder and managing director of Shadoka and founder and chair of NextChapter. His broad areas of expertise include innovation, leadership, management, sustainable growth, transformation, strategy, governance, M&A, frameworks, and digital platforms. What sets Faisal apart is the unique position and perspective he has always maintained, which is grounded in hardcore technology with deep roots in leading edge management science. So this is going to be a great conversation today. I love talking about these concepts on a higher level. Faisal, thank you so much for joining me, and welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor. Thank you.
Yeah, so there were a million commas in that intro, man. I got to hear it.
I can see that.
Tell us a little bit about who you are and what makes you so amazing.
I don't know about amazing part, but look, I've been always kind of this intersection of humanity, science, and technology. Initially, obviously, I started out as a technologist and built products and built companies around technology. But as I've grown through my career, I've realized more and more the real challenge is how you connect with people and how you lead them and how you can influence them and inspire them to become their best. So this aspect of humanity has kind of taken over as much as technology in terms of whatever I do these days.
So I love how you talk about the intersection of humanity and technology, because that's actually a really big topic, 2022, 2023, with all of these apps that we have that are, just trying to figure us out, right? Programmatically, right? And also, you have these external programs like TikTok that are also trying to profile us, collect data, and, it's just causing all kinds of discussion these days. Tell us a little bit about how you've like where you sit on the spectrum on whether these are all great ideas that we should be implementing, AI into our content writing and into our management skills, things like that, or whether we should, something just destroy the whole thing like Skynet before it actually gets bigger.
So look, I mean, this is a very complicated and a very broad topic that we couldn't possibly finish in 10, 20, or even a couple of hours. But the way I look at it is that technology has a role, automation, and giving you accurate information, not just data, that allows you to make better decisions, but also automate a lot of money things that necessarily we don't want to do, or technology can do better. But the aspect of creativity and mobilization of a workforce, inspiring people to do the next big thing, that all comes down to humanity, right? And as a technologist, I think we have more and more a role in terms of a moral role, what we really should be pushing out there and what should be consumable and what's really harmful and impactful. And as a leader, we have the opportunity and the responsibility to drive people to do what they should be doing at their best, right? So that's where this notion of mindfulness and empathy comes along. You talk about one big tip. I have kind of boiled down to everything to mindfulness and empathy when it comes to leadership.
So let's dive into that a little bit, because one of the interesting things about about management is, just stating the obvious, there are a lot of different styles out there, right? And we see the results of those different styles in the news, like how Elon Musk is managing Twitter, how SBF managed, FTX, how Adam Newman managed WeWork. There are all these different styles, and sometimes they just clash, and, they can go and create these awesome and amazing, great things, and they can create a fabulous amount of wealth, but used wrong, it could actually be pretty damn toxic, not only within your your immediate organization that you're responsible for leading, but also have all kinds of cascading repercussions. How do you help people then figure out, it's one thing to say, okay, yeah, I'm empathetic, right? But how do you actually drive that as as a guiding force, as a North Star, for your management style, and actually implement it into the business that you're running?
Sure. Look, I mean, without empathy, it's not just we think empathy and mindfulness is very personal, and it applies in personal level, but it has a huge implication in an organization and outside of our organization as a whole, because it allows us to understand the situation of the collective community in terms of what they need, what they want to use, what issues they're dealing with, how they're going to react to a particular situation. And as a leader, it's our job to be able to be attuned to that. Without empathy and mindfulness, we can't do that. So when we can't do that, that's when we misfire, because then we start building wrong products. We try to push our people in a different way. We don't understand the customer needs. We cannot connect with the in the market, et cetera, et cetera. So if you look at the brands that are very, very successful, they establish a very personal feeling and very personal connection with each of the customer they serve, right? Whether that's B2B or B2C, it doesn't matter. So from that context, I think that these command and control and toxic leadership really doesn't work from a long-term perspective, right? And sooner or later, it all falls apart. Whether we've seen that in GE, we've seen that in all sorts of companies, right? And I come from, so that's I picked up GE. No particular reason, but that's what happens.
So talk to me a little bit about what would be a good example of a company that projects, and not only projects but also demonstrates, the empathy in the workplace and the empathy with with the customers that they're trying to serve, and can really make an impact on it, right? So we're not just talking about large companies that donate to big natural disasters and things like that, right?
Sure.
We can,
For sure.
we're talking about things that are, either more local in nature, even internal to their own, to their own operations. How does that look?
Look, I mean, there's all kind of models, right? I mean, there's we have seen this obviously social responsibility we've set in for years and years. But even if you look at a company like Nike, right, they always try to serve a very wide customer base, people who are athlete, but this really trying to connect with inner athleticism of any person, whether they're disabled, whether they're gold medalists, it doesn't matter. It's trying to kind of push the inner human spirit, and they do that with their messaging. They would try to do that how they the founder's mantra, how they want to run the company. And it's not they have always succeeded, but they have done that, right? So, but he also seen a lot of companies now legally have moved from C Corp to B Corp, which is totally focused on social impact, and that's very empathy-driven mindset. But there's all kind of models out there. But the reality is that if you want to do good, you have to be approaching these things from what is good for the community as a whole, and how does our employees and the team reacts to that, and as a result creates the product, and as a result creates the message that allows you to do better. I mean, you could even talk about Apple, right? I mean, Apple is kind of controversial and kind of contradictory in many ways, because Steve had a very mixed reputation, how he led and how he interact with people, but as a company is very much empathetic to enable individual to do the best they can be and whatever they want to do to move things forward, right? So it kind of starts there, and that kind of reflects throughout the culture of any organization.
It's interesting that you brought up the Apple example because really what they, from the outside in, really what it looked like they were trying to do was, they did have a very specific vision,
Yeah,
put 10,000 songs in your pocket type thing, have these
yeah,
really easy, catchy,
yeah,
one sentence frames of, the types of products that they want to create. And also, utilizing the Apple example is that you could put their entire product line on one regular size table, right? You can, you don't need this. They don't have 10,000 SKUs, right?
yeah.
And what
That's right.
happens is that, but in order to convey that, that this particular product stands for X, Y, and Z, it conveys an identity. It conveys, the solution of what you're going to be able to get out of it. It's not competing on price. It's not
Yeah,
competing on, who else is better. It is, partially a status symbol, right? But
yeah.
also you are talking about the, who you want to, who you are becoming by purchasing this product, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's kind of like this notion of enablement and accessibility, right? So that's what they pushed because if you, like you said, you can have access to 10,000 songs, right? Or you could have this machine that you can do anything. You can be a programmer, you could be a CEO, whatever. I can enable you to do whatever I want to do, right? So this notion of accessibility and the notion of enablement, it kind of being very empathetic to the consumer, what they want to be, right? So it's not about you, the company, but it's also about the customer that you're serving, right? So, and that kind of can translate into and it's not like all people each of these companies done this always right. I mean, there was a lot of controversy right after pandemic where people forcing people to go back to work, et cetera, and there's always that mixed bag, but successful brands always leads with that kind of notion.
So how is this put into practice, right? Company hires you and says, "Hey, we need, we need to get our processes in line. We need to, improve our external image, also improve morale inside." What are the first steps? Like, what can you do when you come into a situation like that and help guide them from a starting point to, to where they need to be?
Look, I mean, it really starts with very fundamental question is like, who are you and what you're trying to be, and how do you want to make an impact? What's your purpose, right? So if you can't do that, if you can't start with that and get it assessment of your current state, you can't create a future state. So it kind of really starts with understanding who you are today and who you want to be tomorrow, and how do you move forward. That kind of comes from knowing your current state and defining a future state and designing a set of processes that allows you to take there and aligning everybody around that notion of why, what, and how, right? So if you don't know the why, you're not going to know the what, and you certainly don't know the how, right? So it kind of goes from there.
Amazing. Thank you so much for explaining that. Faisal, can you please let everyone know how they can learn more about you and how they can reach out to you directly if they want to learn more?
Look, I mean, you can reach me on my website, but you can also find me on LinkedIn. Obviously, I'm all over the social media. I'm on Twitter, but I mean, you can reach me directly on my website or send me a direct message on the LinkedIn. Either way, you can find me, and I have you can all obviously read my books if you want to.
Amazing. Faisal, thank you so much for joining me today. It's been a lot of fun. I love talking about these subjects, and it really makes it a lot of fun to be able to toss around these ideas. Thank you for joining me today.
Listen, thank you for having me. I mean, these are very complicated topics, and we struggle with it regardless, whatever time, and we're just about to enter a new year, and all of us are going to struggle with exactly the same things we just talked about today.
Amazing. Thank you so much for joining me.